Hi there, Kathy Castrigno here, wanting to teach you how to make kombucha. I'm not promising great video quality, that's not my thing, but I think I can do a pretty good job giving you the main things that you will need to get to make kombucha and how to do it. So just watch this video, and I think I'm going to be having one more added on, possibly a third, depending on what it takes. So these videos, I don't know, will probably be a total of about 12 to 15 minutes. So I love making kombucha, and I've been doing it probably about 9-10 months right now. After going to a kombucha party, my husband and I started experimenting with it, and in the beginning we weren't so great at it. We did okay, they weren't too great, but with practice we have gotten pretty good. And you know, the reason we started doing it, we love kombucha, we were spending way too much money buying it in a store, we decided we better get good at it, and so we have. So what I'm going to do is show you the process of creating kombucha, how long it actually takes. It takes about 2 weeks, the whole brewing process. Of course, you're not doing anything the whole 2 weeks. There's just two, you do prepare the whole kombucha, put it in storage for a week, and then you take it out and you bottle it, and then you let it ferment again if you want to do a flavored kombucha, although within 1 week you have really good plain original kombucha. So, depending on what you want to do, like I said, 1 week is plain original kombucha without any fizz. The second week we'll create a kombucha where you'll add like juice, or maybe you could do fruit. We didn't have much success with fruit. We did better with juice. You add juice to individual bottles, and you get like a fizzy flavored kombucha, kind of like the stuff you get like Synergy at the store. So let's start with the list of what you need. What you're going to need is, let me switch this video over. You're going to need a jar. This is one of our jars right here, and this is a second jar that we have right here. Both of these jars are they're not plastic, they're glass. You only want to do this in glass. It's not cool to do kombucha in plastic containers. So you want to, this one we got at City Market, it's an iced tea one, but definitely in the last year I've really only seen plastic, so I don't know if you can get those anymore. This is an olive or a maraschino jar, cherry jar from like a restaurant, and if you know somebody at a restaurant or you're willing to ask, they might give you one because they're probably just going to recycle them anyway or throw them away. We have a third jar that we got at Target, and it's just a plain glass jar, really not really for any function, but just being a glass jar. And then you're going to want to get a strainer. This is a fine mesh strainer that we use, and this thing's great. And then you're going to want to have like a warm storage area. One possible thing is this refrigerator. Your refrigerator has warmth on the top. Kombucha and the culture really likes the warmth. And another possibility is we use a warm closet in our house that's got the heater in it, and the kombucha seems to be pretty happy in there. Plus in the closet it's dark. If you're going to do your kombucha on top of your refrigerator, you're going to want to have a big cloth covering it up to keep it dark. And that's another thing that you're going to need for your kombucha is a cloth. So this is a cloth right here, and as you can see right here, I think, it's on top of a brewing kombucha right here. Let's say you're going to do one on top of your fridge, you might want even a darker colored cloth, putting it over the whole thing on top of your fridge so that it'll stay nice and dark. You definitely want to keep your kombucha happy, because happy kombucha cultures will make incredible, yummy kombucha. So the first step in this process is you want to make some tea. And so you're just going to boil some water, and what I do is I go over the stove, I use my pot like this, I fill it up with 64 ounces of water, which is pretty much the equivalent of 2 Nalgene bottles, and boil that. And then when that's boiling, I turn it off, finally, after it boils, turn it off, and then I add a 1/4 cup of the dried tea right here. Oh yeah, tea is what you need also. I didn't mention that, you need to get tea. And that tea is either Earl Grey, or black, or green, or yerba mate. The only thing is it needs to be caffeinated tea. It doesn't mean that kombucha is caffeinated when it's done. I drink the 2-week brew, and I'm sensitive to caffeine, and I've had it in the evenings at night, and it hasn't kept me up yet, so I think something happens in the processing. Don't quote me on that, but that's my own experience. What we do is we get these bags from Vitamin Cottage in bulk, because it just makes it more affordable that way. And so you're going to take a 1/4 cup and put the dried tea in there and dump it into the water that's just boiled, stir it around and let it steep. I don't know, I think I let it steep 12 to 15 minutes or something like that. And after it's steeped, then you want to get out some sugar. And we were taught to use the White Death, the regular white sugar, although I just was around somebody who was using what I think was sucanat. I'm sure you could use turbinado sugar. Don't be using things like honey or molasses or any of that. Just use some kind of sugar like that. This is what feeds the SCOBY. It's what it needs to eat, and that's what makes good kombucha. And remember, it eats it up, so when you're drinking it, there's very little of that left in there. So just use 3/4 of a cup, and you want to add that 3/4 of a cup of sugar into your tea, and just make sure it's all dissolved. And then the next step is you want to take your tea, and in your pot, the tea is in the pot, and you're going to put the strainer on top of the jar like that, or like this one. We could pretend, because this one has tea in already. It's easier to visualize. And you're going to take the pot from over there on the stove and bring it over and pour it through here, so that all those tea leaves get stuck in here, and they don't get in your kombucha there, because it's just So you just pour it in there, and there's no SCOBY in here yet. We have to visualize this at this point. So let's just pretend this clear water is tea. You've poured that in. You take this out. We throw it in our compost bucket or garbage, whatever you're going to be doing. So at this point, you have this full of tea with 3/4 of a cup of sugar that's totally dissolved. That would probably come up to about here. And then what I do is I add probably about another 20 ounces of water onto that and mix it all together, and then put my hand in and feel it. Now, SCOBYs like warm, but they don't want to be burned. But most likely, if you add a little bit of water and you can put your hand in there and leave it just for a little bit without feeling burned, the SCOBY's going to be happy too. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your SCOBY, which we have them stored in here, and I'll talk about storage in just a moment. And you can either grab it with your hands. It's not a big deal, really. Everybody's like, ew, it's so gross. It's not really that gross. And it's just like this pancake. This is one that started out as thin as a quarter width of a pancake. And look at this thing. It's so happy. It just grows a new layer every week. And you take this, and you're going to bring it over here and plop it in here. Now, when you put it in, you want to make sure your tea doesn't come above the widest part of the jar, because a SCOBY needs to have, it needs to have some space to be able to access the sugar. It needs to be able to breathe. You just want, and the SCOBY just is happier when it fits into this area here. And so you're going to plop it on top of there, and then you're going to date it. See how this one is right here? This is one that we made, we brewed on the 19th of March right here. And so that one has been, I just pulled it out of the closet just to show you guys, but this one, it sits in the closet like this, in our dark closet, with its date on it, covered up in a warm place with the date. And so on the 19th, we want to wait a week. So a week later would be, that's Tuesday the 19th, we made it. On Tuesday the 26th is the day we're going to do the extra steps with this. But just for now, I'll get back into the extra steps of that. But what's going to happen is you're going to put this in its storage place and leave it there for a week. And it'll happily eat the sugar up and brew an absolutely beautiful kombucha. And just, so we do multiple batches a week. We might do one on Tuesday, we might do one on Friday, one Sunday, depending. Kind of like 2 or 3 a week. And when, like this one is sitting idle right now, this SCOBY, we're going to be brewing, I don't know, in the next day or two. It sits in its own kombucha right here, so we just always reserve some kombucha. Probably, excuse me, would be better if this water, or if this kombucha was over the top, but it seems to be pretty happy. And see, this is a Corningware. And how we store it is, we just put the top on like this so it can breathe. You can make up your own version of this, just not plastic. Put it in some kind of ceramic or glass kind of container if you're doing more than one. And you can just let it sit in there, and we put a little dish rag over it and let that sit in the dark until the time comes. So, oh yeah, and then what, another good thing just to point out is, like, for example, when we went on a multi-week camping trip last summer, we weren't brewing kombucha, obviously, although we did bring some kombucha bottles brewing in the back of our truck that were ready within a certain period of time. That was pretty cool. But what we were like wondering about, and we found out, is how do you store your kombucha culture when you're not brewing? And what you do is what I just showed you, which is this Corningware or whatever. It has to be able to breathe, but you put it in a container like that, or in some kind of jar or something, and you leave it in the refrigerator covered in kombucha, and it kind of goes into this dormant phase when it's in the refrigerator. And we found when we came back like 3 weeks later, we had pretty happy cultures and all was well, and we just started back up brewing again, and it wasn't much of a problem at all. So right now I think I'm going to end this first video and then put together a second one with any extra added tips that you might still need to know, and show you the second part of the brewing process and how that all goes. So thanks a lot for watching.